That way we can get rolling. Here we go, folks. And I can say you're at the airport. I guess that won't be a problem.
Sure, that's fine. Sure.
In 3, 2, 1. News Radio 840 WHAS. Good Sunday morning, and the last show of the year for this Louisville real estate show. I'm Bob Sokoler, and along with us, Randy Rocky, who's coming from a car even this early in the morning on a Sunday. Good morning, Mr. Rocky, Swan Financial.
Good morning, Bob.
You can reach Randy and Swan Financial at 773-4834. And Randy, Lee Harris has you beat. She's already at the airport this morning, coming I think, back from a trip. You doing okay?
Yeah. Coming back from Florida.
Good. Well, you'll
nice and sunny down here.
Yeah, well, it was. Now you're coming into some cold weather. Lee, of course, is with the legal counsel with Limestone Title and Escrow. 649-7964 is her direct number. And we're going to try to get this show in before Lee's plane takes off. How's that sound?
Yeah, sounds good.
We're up against it. Let me tell you, we want to make that happen. So coming up a little later on in today's show, some holiday shopping stories that are shocking even the experts. And if you hear that noise behind Lee, it's because she is really at the airport. That's not a sound effect. So, all right, let's start with you, Lee, and then what I'm gonna do is have you mute yourself so that we don't hear too much background noise. We're mixing in emails that we're getting from listeners while we're doing the rest of the show. So let's start with this email from Jeannie. She says she bought a home 3 weeks ago, found a leak coming from the roof. There was nothing on the disclosure about it. Should the seller or the property seller, real estate agent, or the inspector have told her about the leak beforehand, and what can she do about it?
Yes, if they knew about it, anybody who knew about it, for example, the seller had the leak, or if they had it repaired and it didn't work, or even if they just had it repaired and it was working, that should all go in the disclosure form. If the agent knew about it, then they should also disclose. That's a little more difficult to connect because typically a seller isn't going to tell their agent of a defect if they don't want to tell about it.
Right.
And the inspector, I would hope, would, do all those things. Either suggest a roofer if they don't get up on the roof themselves, or, look at all the major systems. And if there is a problem, suggest a professional to come out and look at that so that the buyer can negotiate the repairs, before closing.
So I suspect from the tone of this email that she's indicating that maybe there wasn't as much forthcoming as there should have been on the disclosure. Maybe there's something that should have been talked about on the disclosure. Is there recourse? And I know there is. What recourse does she have at this point, 3 week into the ownership of the home?
At this point, what I would do is get some estimates of what it would cost to have that fixed. Get a roofer or two out there, professional out there, say, okay, here's the problem. They can also tell you if the problem has pre-existed, if it's been perhaps mended or fixed before. And then the first step that I always suggest to people is send a letter either through the seller's agent or just to the seller themselves and say, here's what we found. Mm-hmm. Here's our invoices. Here's what our expert said. We'd like you to fix this. And that's the first step. Sometimes that works. Sometimes the seller says, I didn't know anything about it. I'm not giving you $1, depending on how much it is. If it's up to $2,500, then under your contract, you would go to small claims court. If it's anything over $2,500, then there is a mediation arbitration provision in the contract, which means the first step is to go to mediation. And the Greater Louisville Association of Realtors, who has drafted that contract, they have a process. It's a very simple process where the buyer could fill out the form, ask for mediation. Usually costs about $300 a person. That mediator will schedule a meeting between the buyer and the seller and try to get them to resolve it that way.
Got it.
So it's a quick and easy, solution. If that doesn't happen, they can go to arbitration. But arbitration, of course, is going to depend on how much the damages are because, any kind of legal process can add up quickly.
And just to be clear, so I would suggest, and I'm not an attorney, but I would suggest that in this case, Jeannie, contact her agent, who will contact the seller's agent, and then see if there's anything that's going to be done by the seller before she goes through the legal chain.
Right.
At that point,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Let's move on. Housing forecast for 2021 as we move into the new year. Randy Rocky, the experts have a very positive sign here, starting with interest rates. Where are you expecting things to go over at Swan Financial and the rest of the country?
I think the interest rates are going to stay low in 2021. I really do, and I think the housing market is going to inventory is going to be low again. We're just not building. You know, we're building new construction, 1 million houses a year. We need 1.6 million. That's one glaring thing that is a problem, and I think now there are a lot of people that are getting in the first-time home buying. You know, a lot of millennials and things of that nature, and it's driving up home prices. I think they continue to rise. Supply and demand is one of the many reasons.
So, housing forecast that was just recently published, according to several sources, Fannie Mae says interest rates should stay at about 2.8%. Freddie Mac says 3%. The Mortgage Banker Association says 3 to 3.3%, and the National Association of Realtors is saying that interest rates should stay somewhere between 2.9 and 3.2%. So that's plus. Home sales, they're anticipating also, as you point out, the forecast for 21 is an increase. In fact, the National Association of Realtors expects home sales to hit new records along with the Mortgage Banker Association. So all of these are some pretty impressive numbers. Home pricing, the prices of home, according to the National Association of Realtors, is expected, and again, this is not a guarantee, but homes prices to go up on an estimated average of 6% over next year, which is well above what the average is for Louisville.
Yeah. So what has happened nationwide is it's been 6% in the suburbs, and rural housing, which we talked about, I think about 3 shows before, 11% up more than it ever has been. And I could see that trend continuing as people, some people, not all people, are fleeing, bigger cities.
You mentioned about a lot of folks getting into the purchase market of homes. Millennials are now flooding into the real estate market.
Oh, no question.
They're the largest group of today's first-time home buyers. And you wonder, there are a lot of people still renting. So what's holding them back? You ready for this? A new survey, and you'll want to speak to this. A new survey, number one thing that holds back renters, 68% of them, is affording the down payment. And Randy, you and I have talked on this, along with Lee in past shows, that it's not a 20% down payment that's required. Let everybody know what is required to get into your first home.
A great question. And 52%, I'm sorry, of all millennials believe you have to put 10% down or more. You could put 0 down. 3% or 3.5%, depending on credit score, will allow your rate to drop an average of 0.75% over a 0 down payment home. You can put 3 to 3.5% down. There's amazing tax credits for first-time home buyers that our company really goes and does a great job with. But you're right. That's the big stigma is the down payment, which could be as little as 0.
And Lee, let me bring you in if you got a quick second. I know she's getting ready to catch a flight, but from your standpoint, how often do you find where sellers on the closing disclosure are paying for some of the buyers or all of the buyers' closing costs? So all the buyer really needs is the down payment. How often are you seeing that?
Quite often. It's very, very common. Very common. In fact, I think a lot of buyers, agents, are expecting to ask for that. And a lot of sellers, I think, are prepared that they're going to pay, some or all of that. So, yeah, I think it's very common, much more common than it was, I'd say, even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, it is, and I really think it was really commonly 2 years ago. To me, it's dropping off some because it's such a competitive market, and I agree. A lot of people just are a lot of the sellers don't even want any confusion at the closing table, and it's causing people not to do it as much as they were 2 years ago. But you're right; it's still much higher than 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So some of the other things that millennials are concerned about and why they're still renting is being able to qualify for a mortgage. And there's a simple answer there, right, Randy? Just have someone call
Right.
or any lender and find out what if they qualify. They don't
Well,
want to. Yeah.
right. Right. And what is great about it now, Bob, especially with the millennial group, we send a link over. We text it over. They literally hit the link, and it takes them 3 minutes to fill out the application. And it's really makes a lot of millennials feel more comfortable with starting the process.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the other reasons that millennials say they're not ready to buy, they want to rent, is because they're afraid of accumulating debt. Yet in reality, that debt is only the house and you're actually making money on it. So that's something that needs to be addressed with millennials. And if you're listening to us and you have kids or friends who have kids, it might be worth it to have a conversation and explain how that they can write off interest rates so they appreciate money when their home appreciates in value. Also, the another reason for not buying, and this is a legitimate one by millennials, is their job security. They're not sure that they're going to either stay in the same job or they're going to continue in that area. So that we get 39% of those polled said that's a problem. And then there's 20% who, quite frankly, have the ultimate excuse. They're just not ready to settle down. So, okay, we get that, right?
Well, and I understand the 20%, but even with repairs, with the tax credit scenarios and all the above, even, budgeting $3,000 a year in repairs, I'd say the majority of renters would still save money renting versus buying a home, even with zero money down.
Oh yeah.
And that's what, because Leah, you know as well as I do, the rental market is, and Bob, you do as well. The rental market has gone way up. And, with rates where they're at, I understand pricing, housing has gone up, but, every $10,000 that a house goes up, it's about $55 a month in monthly payment. So it's not been astronomical for that side of the sector. If the market's gone up 6% on a $170,000 house, you're only looking at, it's still money, but you're looking at a $50 payment difference between last year and this year. Well, with rates being down, then actually it's about the same, or even a little bit less in 2020 compared to 2019. Yes.
Yep. Amazing. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more questions for Lee, and we'll talk about this holiday shopping story that's shocking even the experts. With us from an airport in Florida, Lee Harris, legal counsel, Limestone Title and Escrow. She's coming back and she'll quarantine, by the way. 649-7964 is a direct number. Also, Randy Rocky, Swan Financial, 645-0736 is Randy's direct number over at Swan. You can reach me, Bob Sokoler, anytime, day or night, on my cell phone at 376-5483. And my son, Greg, who actually has the morning off, a rare morning off, but you can reach him through me if you ever need to get a hold of Greg. Mind you that if you are looking to watch a replay of this show, by the way, Lee is not on video because she's at the airport. You can go to LouisvilleAnswers.com. If you want to hear what sellers are saying about us, you can go to LouisvilleSellersTalk.com, or you can read about it. Go to LouisvilleZillow.com. We're back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS. News Radio 840 WHAS, Bob Sokoler and the Louisville Real Estate Show here with you until the top of the hour, the last show of this year. We, of course, will be joining you next week for the first show of 2021. With us, Lee Harris, legal counsel, Limestone Title and Escrow at 649-7964, coming to us from an airport in Miami. Is it Miami, Lee, or where did you end up going? She's on mute, so maybe she's in the process of boarding. Also, Randy Rocky, Swan Financial, 645-0736. Which airport are you at, Lee? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, Gainesville. I'm Gainesville.
Oh, Gainesville. Okay, you're on the other side of the state. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. All right, and then Randy joining us from his car, as a matter of fact. Actually, he's not even driving. That's how safe he is. He wants to maintain
Uh,
yeah.
Not near as glamorous as where Lee is doing.
Not at
I'm just
all.
driving down the road.
Oh well,
So here's yeah, go ahead.
I'm nothing if not glamorous. So
Interesting. The holidays are not stopping home buyers this year. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, they're all behind us. Yet finding the perfect holiday gifts for family and friends is certainly still top of mind for many people, even though the holidays have passed. This year, there is really another type of buyer that's very active this holiday season, the home buyer. Each month, Showing Time, which we use, releases their showing index, which tracks the average number of appointments received on active U.S. housing listings. And this is amazing. Showing Time Index reported a 60.9% jump in nationwide showing traffic year over year in the month of October. That's the
wow,
sixth consecutive month to see an increase over last year. That
wow,
is right, Lee. You're shocked by it as all of us are.
I am shocked. Yes, yeah, that's amazing.
60.9%.
Our business has not slowed down at all,
No.
and this time of
Yep.
year it does. And it's our applications, nothing has slowed down, which
Yeah.
is really amazing.
So
Yeah.
And usually it drops off about 40% this time of year.
yeah.
I mean, it
Yeah.
does.
So the message is for sellers, if you're thinking of selling, don't think because we are approaching New Year's or we've just passed the Christmas holiday and all the other holidays that there's nobody out there looking. They are out there looking in droves, and we're finding if we put a home on the market. Let me tell you a quick story that you'll all appreciate. One of my agents put a sign in the yard, and even before the pictures and the home was up on the MLS, got a call from somebody driving by and put the home under contract. That is how quick they were able to get this done. So
Wow.
this just gives you an idea how quick and how fast things are moving. Lee, another question for you. This one's coming from Sarah. This is one for you, Lee, that she says, I learned there are issues on the title of the home she's about to buy. Mind you, normally we would have the phone calls rolled in, but we're doing these COVID shows and we're using Zoom, and we don't have the technology to really roll a live phone call in. It's limited. So I've asked everybody to send emails, and you can send me an email, bob@wesellouisville.com, and then put in question for radio. Anyway, so Sarah says there's something about a cloud on the title of the house that she was going to close or buy. She was told it could prevent the closing from going through. She's not sure, she says, if it's a federal or state tax lien or a claim on the property by a co-owner or a former owner or relative or a contractor's lien. She just knows there's a cloud. How dangerous, she wants to know, is this to her being able to close the home?
Typically speaking, not 100% of the time, but typically speaking, we can clear those liens. We can clear liens. We can get, negotiate. If it's a tax lien, we can negotiate with the lien holder and get it down to something that the person can pay off at closing. If it's some kind of other lien, then we could work out that person gets paid off at closing. Say a judgment lien, something like that. So it very rarely does a lien prevent a closing from happening. I mean, we clear liens all day long, every day. So you'd be surprised. People who don't buy and sell houses every day would be surprised how many liens are out there. But, sometimes it's a credit card they didn't pay 5 years ago, and, it was $2,000. Now it's $6,000. And so, the seller has to take that out of their proceeds, or they have to bring money to closing. But typically speaking, those could be cleared. If it's a federal tax lien that's $200,000 and the house is worth, 75, that's going to be more difficult. But if it's something that we can do, Jefferson County, they'll work with you. Metro liens, which is typically like you didn't mow your lawn and you got a fine, that type of thing, they'll work with you. So, they want to get paid too. They want to get it cleared out. So if they never clear the liens, then they never get paid. So, and even those liens that are filed by attorneys, judgment liens, those attorneys will negotiate with their clients, will then negotiate with us, and we can usually get that to happen.
So the good news is, Sarah, it's not a dead deal from any means, but just it could take a little extra couple of days for it to work through to make it work. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly. Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah.
All right. All right. So listen, the 2021, as we've been talking about, is going to shape up to be, we believe, with always there could be a hitch, but we believe going to be an incredible year for buying and selling homes. For those of you who are potential home buyers, we've got some do's and don'ts after applying for a mortgage, which, unless you're lucky and pay cash, most everybody that's listening who needs to apply for a mortgage should be listening to this. So, Randy, if you don't mind, I will give you the title and you expound on it, okay? The section.
Okay.
All right. Don't deposit cash into your bank account before speaking with your bank or lender. Why?
Because you have to source that money, which is a procedure we can avoid, especially if they have money in a savings account. You don't have the deposits going in and out. It's a much easier scenario. You don't have to source where that deposit came in.
All right. Don't make any large purchases like a new car or furniture for your new home after you've applied and before you close.
Debt to income ratio. Yeah, it throws off your debt to income ratio. And in some scenarios, they make you repull credit and get a pre-approval again as well. So that's a big no-no as well.
Don't co-sign other loans for anybody.
Debt to income ratio again. Your debt compared to your income is what you can qualify for a mortgage. And if you co-sign for somebody, then you have to go through the paperwork of finding out what you co-sign, how you did it. It opens up a whole can of worms there.
All right. Don't charge bank accounts, or don't change bank accounts.
Correct. You do not want to change bank accounts, because then you got to get the older bank account, the new bank account, and then you're putting money in the bank account, and then you get in the whole sourcing issue again.
Got it. Don't apply for new credit cards or credit.
Right, because then you get you have a scenario where there's a debt to income ratio again as well, and sometimes they make you repull credit, and you've already been approved. As long as you close within 120 days, you don't have to even pull credit or anything unless something like an inquiry comes up like that.
A lot of debt to income ratio problems on this. And now this last one may shock some people. Don't close any credit accounts.
Not only do not close, if you have a collection and it's been approved that the collection stays on, don't pay it off, because then what happens is sometimes recurring, when something shows itself up again, it could really affect your credit in that scenario, and they might make you repull credit, and it could drop your credit. If it's not been for a couple of years, nothing's happened with that collection. It just kind of sat there. Then it doesn't. There's no reporting that's been going on, so that's not good. Yes, we don't ask you to close anything or really pay off anything in that scenario. Yes.
All right. Coming to the end of this show, there's a real problem that I want to discuss with everybody listening, and with Lee and with Randy. So we have folks on this show who we vetted. We have been working with. They do an incredibly good job. Lee over at Limestone and Randy at Swan. Yet there are other unscrupulous, let's just start with the mortgage companies. There's a couple out there with loan officers that are giving headaches to the industry and a black eye to the industry. I tell you this from personal experience. We've got one home that's supposed to close, but there's a domino effect, folks. And when I tell you about a domino effect, it means that in order for our seller's home to close, 2 or 3 others before it have to close. And it turns out, and Lee, I want to grab you first because I know you're going to have to get on the plane, so I want to ask your opinion first on this. It turns out the loan officer on loan number 1, that's up the chain, and it's not Swan, just to let you know, or any of the lenders we work with, the loan officer is being squirrely. And earlier this week, we're trying to find out why there's been a delay of more than a month. And now we are in contact. One of the people in the chain contacted this first loan officer, and he says, I'm off until the 1st of January, and I'm not going to say anything until I get back to work. And several people have tried to call this loan officer, who works for a mortgage company in town, and the guy's saying, I'm not talking because I'm off of work. Lee, the legal action, is there anything that any of us as real estate agents or as buyers who are working with somebody like this loan officer who doesn't understand the concern and the problems he's causing for so many families, anything legally that all of us can do other than creating a blackball list? And I don't even know if that's legal.
Well, the buyer who's working with that person certainly has a right to contact, I don't know, the higher ups or whatever, and say, look, we need this done. So they might not even be aware. If he is the higher up,
Yeah.
then they have a right to make a complaint. There's something called the Department of Mortgage Licensing in Frankfurt, and they can make a complaint. Once you get a complaint, your attention gets a little more focused. Nobody wants a complaint on their license.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so that buyer is really the one that has the most control. The other people who are being affected can also do the same thing. They have the facts. This loan officer did X, Y, Z, and therefore it's causing, all these chain reaction. It's causing this problem for 3 or 4 different closings, and it's really causing a problem. And it's because I've never heard of anybody saying I'm not going to work until January 1st.
Yeah, neither have
heard
we.
of that.
It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
In 30 seconds, Randy, anything you want to add to this? Because this Department of Licensing, I think in Frankfurt, this is a good option. Anything you want to add?
Kentucky Department of Financial Institutions is where you would make that complaint, and it's sad, but it's truly happening. It happens a lot, not quite to that extreme, but it amazes me in our industry, and it's sad. It's not good.
Yeah, on that word, I would have rather closed out this year on a positive note, but we need to make sure people know you got to make sure that the group that you're working with, whether it's lenders or closing attorneys, agents, we're all good people, but there are some rotten apples out there in the lending world, and we need to flush them down the drain, is what I will tell you. Lee, I hear your plane is about to board. My thanks to Lee Harris, legal counsel, Limestone Title and Escrow, coming from, you said the Jacksonville Airport in my
Gainesville Airport. It's about as big as your hand.
Good. All right. You can reach Lee when she lands at 649-7964. Safe flight, Lee. See you in a couple of weeks. Thank you.
Happy New Year, everyone.
You got it.
Talk to you
Happy
soon.
New Year.
Okay. Bye-bye.
And you got it. Randy Rocky, Swan Financial. You can reach Randy at 645-0736. Thanks for hanging in. Randy, Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
And you can reach me, Bob Sokoler, anytime on my cell phone, 376-5483. You can go to, there goes Lee there. Call on Lee's plane. You can reach me on my phone, 376-5483. Go to LouisvilleZillow.com to read our reviews, buyers, or LouisvilleSellersTalk.com. Folks, have a great New Year. We'll see you next Sunday right here on News Radio 840 WHAS.
See you then. Bye, gentlemen.
All right, guys. Take care. Safe.
Bye-bye.
Safe.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.